Welcome to r/slash Topposts, where OP takes a dump in her car in front of her boyfriend. Our next Reddit post is from Feeling War. I was in the car with my boyfriend and we got into an argument. That morning, I had taken some laxatives because I was constipated and couldn't use the bathroom. All of a sudden in the car as we were arguing, I told him I needed to use the restroom to pee, and he stopped at this really fancy place and I wasn't dressed properly, so I told him I wasn't going in there. Then we got into a whole other argument with me about why I wouldn't just go in and use the restroom. So as he drives away, he's like, "Fine, we'll go home," and the house was pretty far away, like 30 minutes. All of a sudden, in the middle of the road, my stomach started to churn, and I tried moving around to try to look for comfort, and that's when I realized that I had to go. There was no time to find a bathroom. I just had to go. So anyways, I grabbed a plastic bag, and all of a sudden, there it was. So I pulled my pants down in the seat, placed the bag at the edge, and slid myself towards the edge, and you know what happened next. My poor boyfriend looked at me and pulled to the side and began to just look at me straight in the eyes and then roll down the window. I don't know if I should be in love or disgusted by the simple fact that this man just sat next to me while I took the worst poo of my life. Our next Reddit post is from Hazel Nutty. When my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer, she opted for no treatment. She had watched her husband go through chemo, radiation, and surgery, and he was miserable the whole time. She didn't want that for herself. Her family supported her. Over the next year, she gifted items to family and friends, told us to write our names on things that we want, take what we wanted, etc. There were conditions. "No, you can't have that. That's a family heirloom meant to go to such and such." We all knew what those items were and who they were going to, so that was easily settled after she died. The house was inherited by my father, who very suddenly and unexpectedly passed away 2 weeks later. I inherited the house at that point. The next-door neighbor, Todd, came over several times, upset that he and his kids, who were 21 and 19, weren't invited to Grandma's funeral. There wasn't a funeral. We were all too busy reeling from my father's death. And upset that he wasn't presented with a copy of the will. The will only included family members. And he absolutely knew that Grandma loved his kids like her own. She didn't. She complained about them coming over all the time and stealing her water to fill their pool. And she had to tell them to stop calling her Grandma. Todd wanted to know if I would allow his kids to go through the house to see if there was anything they'd like to take to remember her by. Okay, first of all, dude, my grandma died 4 weeks ago. And dude, my dad died 2 weeks ago. I thought he was awfully rude, but I offered to let them go through the boxes I'd packed that I was planning to donate, and he was offended. I mean, mortified. He said that his son and daughter had their hearts set on some of the items that, by the way, were family heirlooms, and I literally laughed at him. I explained they were family heirlooms, and they'd be staying with me and the rest of the family. He said, "My kids were her family, and she would have gifted those to them. They should have been included along with everyone else when everything was divided up." Keep in mind, none of us knew this guy or his kids other than the neighbors next door. They were never at any family gatherings that were held at her house, and the only time I ever heard her talk about them was when she was complaining about them. Especially when she caught them using both of her hoses to fill up their pool and then came over complaining because she had put locks on the outdoor faucets. Luckily, Todd's house was in foreclosure and he moved away about a year later. Our next Reddit post is from Parking Philosophy. I just gave birth 4 days ago to a beautiful baby girl. I'm 29 and my husband is 30. Right after we were discharged and got home 3 nights ago, my husband got a phone call from his father, and next thing I know, my husband is losing it. He's on the phone for like 45 minutes, just flipping out, crying, snotting, yelling. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong, and he's ignoring me. He goes and gets himself a 6-pack. He finally opens up to me about what's going on. Apparently his brother, who I think is 27, I've only met him twice because he lives with their dad out of state, just got arrested for kidnapping, for photos of minor children and having sexual relations with a, quote, young girl a week ago. My husband wouldn't tell me how old she was. He kept dodging the question. He's been a mess since then. He's barely held our daughter, and when he does, he's just crying. He's not helping me at all. He's just completely shut down. I'm trying to be understanding, but I don't know the depth of what's actually happening at this point because he's not really communicating with me. Well, his mom showed up here at 8 a.m. this morning and woke us all up. He apparently invited her here to talk about what they're going to do. I kind of snapped at one point because I'm asking what's going on and they're all straight up ignoring me. So I snapped and said, "Will someone tell me what the hell is going on right now?" And his mom brought up the article of the arrest and it says, minor girl aged 12 to 13. The girl was 12 when the abuse started and she's now 13. So I just kind of clam up because I'm in shock, I think. Well, him and his mom start talking about getting this guy a good lawyer because apparently there was evidence, text and messaging, showing that they were actively in a relationship and she knew what she was doing. They start searching for lawyers right then and there, and they start making phone calls to get quotes. Well, my husband just spoke to some lawyer for a free quote and gave the rundown on the situation to this guy, and my husband blamed the girl, basically. Yeah, it's messed up because the girl knew what she was effing doing, so she's just as much to blame here, if not more. I immediately felt sick to my stomach and just went to the bedroom with our daughter and kind of hid out, I guess. But him and his mom just came in here and asked me if I would pay for the lawyer. Apparently, the guy that he was just on the phone with quoted him $12,000. I have $26,000 saved up. They also said that my brother needed to be bailed out, and his bond was $10,000. Technically, it's $100K, but I guess you only have to pay 10% of it? I'm confused. This is just what they're telling me. I think there's a longer process. This is all happening so fast. I don't want to pay for a lawyer. I don't want to pay this guy's bond. I don't want to be around my husband who's blaming the girl. I don't want to be around him when he's an emotional train wreck and having no help with our daughter because he's so messed up in the head right now. I don't know if I should wait it out and give him a chance to think more clearly before I jump ship and run for the hills. But everything in my body right now is screaming at me to run. I told him that I didn't want to pay for the lawyer or bond. He said that he understood, but I think he's trying to guilt trip me because every time I leave the room, he follows 5 minutes later bawling his eyes out. And he's on the phone with someone saying he's never going to see his brother again and trying to figure out how he's going to come up with the money. I need to figure something out. He needs that lawyer and I don't have the money. Or he'll take tissues from the bathroom and then blow his nose in the living room where I am super loud. It feels manipulative. Am I the butthole for wanting to run without telling him and take the baby? I don't know what to do here. Our next Reddit post is from Civil Aid. I'm a 30-year-old woman and my husband is 33. He has a best friend who's 33 that he's known since he was in diapers. They were each other's best friends for basically their whole lives. Earlier this year, I found out that friend had started a group chat collecting ugly pictures of me where he and several of my husband's friends talked trash about me and were planning to orchestrate making my husband think that I was cheating on him with my best friend. I'm not and never have. The best friend had orchestrated a number of awful things, such as trying to convince me that I was a narcissist and making sure food we ate was contaminated with peanuts. I am allergic. This group chat is 6 years old. My husband and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3 of those years. I was even more sad to find out that my husband knew they didn't like me and had been telling them to knock it off for years to no avail. Needless to say, when I found out, I was incredibly angry. My husband and I went to therapy, and we're in a good spot. The friend doubled down and continued to spread lies about me, saying that I cheated with him, etc. Basically, no intention of apologizing. I set an ultimatum, supported by our therapist, that if my husband didn't stop interacting with his best friend, that I would divorce him. He agreed, and he's been okay about it since. Or so I thought. I found out that my husband sent that friend an expensive birthday gift, and I confronted him. He insisted that he didn't have to talk to that friend, but they'd been doing gift exchanges for decades, and he didn't want to stop the tradition. I insisted that my boundary was that if he was anything but no contact with his friend, I'd walk. Am I the butthole if I leave my husband for giving his best friend of 30 years a birthday gift? So this guy tries to literally murder his wife with peanuts that she's allergic to. And his response is, "Here's a gift, really expensive, hope you like it." OP, the guy friend in this situation isn't the only person in this story who hates your guts. Our next Reddit post is from Crazy Mastiff. 2 weeks ago, on a random Thursday morning at like 1 a.m., someone started shooting off fireworks in my neighborhood. I've been having bouts of insomnia and was finally able to get to sleep, and I had to get to wake up at 4 a.m. for a meeting 2 hours away that I had to be at for 8 a.m. I was pissed, and so were my dogs. I love fireworks, but I think there's a time and a place for them. Thursday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning is not it. I posted to the neighborhood Facebook group a few hours later during a coffee break about people who set off fireworks at 1 a.m. midweek. After I make the long drive home, I check my Facebook. Some guy comments that I can't sleep because I'm a fat pig. Now, I'm chubby, but I'm not sloppy fat. Plus, I just lost the equivalent of a fully grown male wombat, or 54 North American gray squirrels, so I feel effing awesome about myself. This is where I may have screwed up. I respond to the guy, who was maybe mid to late 30s, very early 40s, about the same age group as me. I write beneath his, "Listen, dude's name, I'm sorry I had to end things, but I just didn't have the same feelings. What you're saying now is just hurtful and mean. Please stop sending me messages, and commenting on my Facebook post is just a pathetic way to contact me. I told you a dozen times already, we're done. It's over." The following day, I had to get to the airport for an out-of-country vacation that had me getting up early and leaving early as hell. So I didn't check my Facebook during all the craziness. And I couldn't check my Facebook even if I wanted. I was on a cruise, and I'm not paying $25 a day for internet, and the country we visited didn't really have the greatest Wi-Fi. Besides, I was having a blast leaving the chaos of the world behind. I signed into Facebook about a week later, and damn! Apparently, people took this seriously and told the guy's wife. The wife was freaking out on me, pleading for information, sending me messages. Her and her friends were DMing me. He was DMing me. It was bad. The last message was this guy saying that I'm a total grunt because I refuse to tell the truth and I just destroyed his life. I immediately messaged both him and his wife explaining what happened. I sent pictures of me on vacation even, timestamped. Apparently, he's a serial cheater, and when I exposed our affair, another woman exposed her affair with the husband to the wife because the affair partner was jealous that he had yet another side chick. This was the straw that broke the camel's back, because not only of the multiple affairs, but because he humiliated her with how public it was, especially it being a neighborhood Facebook group. Our next Reddit post is from Foxtrot Crewneck. For background, my parents have been friends with Matt and Amy for many years. They have a son named Steven, who's 18. Him and my brother, who's also 18, are best friends. Today my mom called me, a 20-year-old woman, and she asked me if it would be wrong for her to throw away a college acceptance letter of my brother's because the college was very far away and she didn't want him to go. My mom would literally never do that, so I thought that it was a weird and funny way to tell me that my brother got accepted out of state. My mom then got serious and asked me if that would be wrong, and I immediately, because she would never do that, asked who she knew that did that. She reluctantly said that Matt and Amy had thrown away a college acceptance letter of Steven's for a college that he really wanted to go to because they thought that it was too far away. It's not even out of state. It's 4 hours by car. I told my mom that I was really disappointed that they're the type of people that would do that, and she said that she told Amy off for it. My mom didn't want me to tell anyone. She was just ranting to me, and if I told Steven, Amy would know that my mom told me. I said that I wouldn't, but I immediately told my brother. I called him and let him know, and he was gutted for his friend. He let me know that he would encourage his whole group of friends to check online statuses of colleges they applied to in case acceptance letters got lost. That way, my mom wouldn't be put in the middle of it. I thought it was a pretty good plan until I mentioned it to a college friend, and she thought that I should stay out of other people's business. She said that I'm the butthole for trying to meddle. What? The other parents literally can't even get mad at you, OP, because they're clearly pro-meddling, right? So if they think it's okay to meddle in other people's lives, then they must also think it's okay for you to meddle in their life too, right? Also, this is so crazy because this type of betrayal is the type of thing that, people cut off contact to their family for. Imagine delivering a wound of betrayal that deep over a 4-hour car drive. I thought we'd be talking about like a 5-hour plane trip. This is nothing. Our next Reddit post is from Cherry Fuzz. This whole situation started when I found some mail that showed that my mom had been receiving checks in my name and not telling me. I found out that she had been trying to take my money to give to my brother because he was in debt and needed money, which I was obviously very hurt by. So I moved out, got my money, and just wanted to get away from the whole situation and just process and think about everything that was happening. However, my mom kept texting me and calling me repeatedly asking for money, but I told her no, as she didn't even care about me enough to not lie and steal from me. So a week passes, and in the middle of the night, I get a call from my mom. She tells me to come to her house and we'd talk there. She then tells me that my brother overdosed on a bunch of different pills that he had in his medicine cabinet, and that his girlfriend found him and called 911. He wrote a note though, saying that he was sorry and that he just couldn't take the pressure of having so much debt, and he just felt so heavy and stressed because of it. He said that it's none of our faults and that he loves us very much, but he can't handle it anymore. I know that I could have helped him. I feel so guilty now. It's all my fault. That was r/Topposts from Reddit, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.